Hi everyone, it's me, Angelina. I'm here in Florida. Thank you all so much for your generosity and prayers. There's no way I could be here without them, so thank you. So, just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of like what I've been going through this whole time I was sick, since I know you don't all like know me personally or stuff like that, or have talked to me in a while because if you do, because I've just kind of been out of commission. Um, that obviously had really bad fatigue, so like getting out of bed's really hard. Just basic daily tasks like eating or sometimes too much, so I'd have to like drink a smoothie instead of having a meal or just go to bed. It's really rough. Um, just a lot of pain, just like all throughout the body, which then we realized is like inflammation, which now we know is probably from like some of the stuff we found that's just the immune system's like attacking a bunch of stuff, all that. And we were also able to like see some of the inflammation in the blood. There was a lot of that. Brain fog, which is clearly still here, but it's going to get better once we're able to knock more of the stuff out. And also just the most tiring thing for me at the moment is like talking or hearing people talk. So that's why this is even like more brain foggy than usual. And so we're going to cut the video together too because of that. A lot of nausea and vertigo and like dizziness. So like sometimes like even if I could get out of the bed fatigue wise, I'd be like, I need to lay down for a bit because if I get out I might fall on my face, and also like even if I could eat fatigue wise, it's like, well, I might just throw up what I eat, so is it worth it? With the kind of whole inflammation thing, had like ice pick headaches, which basically you feel like you're being stabbed with an ice pick just repeatedly. And I didn't know that was a thing. That was just how I was describing the pain. And at first we thought it was a migraine because it's been constant this entire time since I got sick. And the ice pick headaches usually only last for a few seconds and then they go away. But the pain and everything fits like really well with what ice pick headaches are, but it's just like continuous. And luckily with that, I mean, they're still happening. We haven't treated like the root cause. I mean, now we kind of know what the root cause probably is that I have all this stuff that my body's fighting that we're gonna work on killing here at the clinic. But previously we didn't know like what was causing it. Like inflammation seems to be what causes it, but we didn't know what was causing the inflammation because it wasn't going away. It kept getting like painful. But luckily I was able to take something to help with the inflammation to bring down the pain level, because that was so bad that even though the fatigue was like so intense that sometimes I just couldn't eat, and I would eat like one meal a day even though I was really hungry because I just wasn't able to do anything else. Like I would rate the pain of the ice pick headache as much higher than the fatigue before I got something to help with that. But then again, we were only able to treat kind of like the symptoms or the main symptom of the inflammation that was causing that and not the root cause. So we're doing that now, which is good. And then I had, or I still have, visual snow syndrome, which is just when you're looking at stuff, it all looks really fuzzy and like dots. Like I can still usually see well of like the things around me. So like think of if you have like a grainy TV, usually it's like that where it's just like everything's made out of dots but you can still tell what it is. But then sometimes, especially when I get more fatigued or more worn out, it gets really bad to the point where like I can't really tell what's around me. Luckily that doesn't happen very often and would usually only happen when I kind of pushed myself over my line, but still it made like I wasn't able to do much schoolwork because I would be looking at like a page with words on it, and it would just look like a blank piece of paper. So can't really, do much reading or worksheets or taking notes or anything like that, especially for any length of time, even if it's just a few minutes. Dr. Minkoff found a bunch of different things, and some of them we were actually able to see because he took a drop of my blood and put it under a microscope and showed it to us. But he found that I have 3 different strains of Lyme's, that I have a bunch of mold toxin, and you could see it in the blood. It was really big compared to the red blood cells, and really nasty looking. And that I have cytomegalovirus, which is known as a chronic fatigue virus because people don't really know if it's a cause or a trigger of chronic fatigue, but it seems to be one of those, because people don't really know the mechanism of what causes chronic fatigue syndrome. But that seems like it's there usually. Anyway, sorry, I'm trying to remember. There were a lot of things. I had a lot of overgrowth of bad gut bacteria in my large intestine, and I think a parasitic component there, which makes sense if the immune system, fighting everything else, it's not as strong to deal with that. And my red blood cells were all clumped together or stuck together in certain parts of the blood, and they're not supposed to do that, because then the blood can't circulate well because the capillaries are only big enough for one blood cell that squeezes down and goes through. So if they're pumped together, that does not work well. And Dr. Minkoff also recommended that we go see this neck specialist person that he knows and really thinks is good, which we didn't even know she was here or that anyone was here who dealt with that. But he's like, you were mentioning you had problems with your neck and stuff, and that can be if something's structurally off, that can also just mess you up. So please go see them. So we did, and we figured out that my 2 top vertebrae are kind of twisted against each other, and one is kind of cockeyed on top too. So my head's literally not on straight, which is not ideal. And then the whole body tries to compensate for your head not being on straight to try to make it sit straight, even though the neck's not going straight into it. So that can your muscles pull in different ways to try to keep them straight. So my legs were different lengths. Now they are the same length, which apparently they were the whole time. I thought maybe my bones were just different in one, but it's because one hip muscle section area is pulling one of the legs up to compensate for the neck. And we also learned that I have a little bit of brain outside of my skull. It's just the part of the skull that has the hole for the brain stem to come down that goes into your spine. That has brain coming out of it too, which is not how it's supposed to work. And then it's also pressing on the brain stem, which is not great because brain tissue is very sensitive. But yeah, it's not enough to be considered a Chiari malformation. Even if it's not technically a Chiari, it can still cause issues, especially if you have other stuff going on. And they also said that a lot of times once stuff starts being kind of put back properly, how it's supposed to be, they've seen the brain go back into the skull. There's a lot of research on that, but the research doesn't really know why it happens, but it shows that it does. So that's good to know that can be fixed, without surgery probably, which is ideal. Yeah, and also I can turn my head all the way now without pain. I didn't know you were supposed to be able to do that. I thought that was the human body's way of telling you, oh, that's as far as you're supposed to be able to turn your neck. Apparently that's not the case. So that's better now, but it's still going to take a bit to get the neck and everything fixed, because it's doing better, but it keeps wanting to go back to what the body's comfortable with. So it just takes a while of continual treatment for that. And then for treatments, doing a bunch of supplements. Some of those are to help detoxify the system, to kind of kill the bad stuff and get it out. And other stuff is to help support the immune system so that, because you can push the Lyme's and the chronic fatigue virus into dormancy, but you can never fully get rid of those. So my system needs to be stronger so that it can keep them in dormancy once we push them into dormancy. And so I don't have to get sick again, hopefully. So that's important. And then I'm doing a lot of different treatments, but some of the main ones that I remember the name of right now are the hyperbaric chamber, which basically you're stuck in a pressurized thing for a bit and you're given oxygen, and the pressurizedness helps the oxygen better get where it needs to go. It just helps it more saturate the body, which is really good because Lyme's in particular is not a fan of oxygen. It can't survive in oxygen-rich environments, so that really helps with the Lyme's. And I definitely notice I feel very a lot of detox symptoms after that, which is unpleasant. Feels like I have the flu on top of everything else, but it means it's killing the bad stuff, so that's good. And then there's a few treatments that deal with ozone, which is really good because the ozone is the only thing that will break down this stuff called biofilms, which the mold will make around itself so that your immune system can't kill it. So basically, if you have those, the biofilms, you can throw whatever you want at it, but if it can't get through, it's not going to do anything. So you need to break those down first so that the treatment can work to then remove the mold. And then the Lyme's can also hide in the biofilms, which is not ideal. And yeah. And there's also other IVs to help support the immune system. I've also gotten there's 4 immune injections that just help your immune system kind of get back up to where it's supposed to be, because mine's very run down. Dr. Minkoff explained it as your immune system's fighting, but it's out of bullets. So it's doing its job, it's just not succeeding. So we're trying to give it more artillery. Overall at the moment, I'm not feeling better yet, but I know I'm doing better, which is really encouraging, because I'm feeling bad because you're detoxifying, and that's not fun. And then also with the chronic fatigue syndrome, until we kind of it's getting better, but until we kind of just crush it, I'm still having the post-exertional malaise. So I do a thing, and then I'm very, very tired. But it's kind of when you're cleaning a room, it's messy, and then you start cleaning it, and then it looks worse for a little bit. And then you put it back in order, and you're yay, my room's clean. But I've also hit milestones that sound kind of small, but they're really huge, and it's just because they sound small because just of how terrible I've been doing previously. But things that I'm that's huge. So I was able to stand for 20 minutes, which is okay. But I was only able to stand for 5 minutes max previously, since before I came here, for over 3 years, because otherwise I'd get really bad pre-syncope. So that's when you're gonna faint. Luckily I haven't fainted, but it's just still unpleasant. Your chest starts really hurting, you get really hot, bad headache, you feel like you're gonna throw up. So I was able to stand for 20 minutes and didn't get any pre-syncope at all, which was incredible. And also just the fact that I'm able to make it to all my treatments and appointments and things, because it's really intensive. So for example, sometimes I'll just be at the clinic and stuff for 5 hours a day, where previously I was only awake 5 hours a day, max, and that was really pushing it. I would start falling asleep and stuff. So I'm able to do that and then come home and eat food instead of just passing out. So that's pretty great. And also just incredible of being able to get, even though I'm feeling bad, but to be able to get that much better so quickly in terms of what I'm capable of is really awesome. And I've also met different people here who have been in treatment for longer than I have, who are doing so much better. I met this one young woman who basically has just is just like a mirror of like what I could be like in the future, because she has like all the same stuff I have, and she's been in treatment for longer, and she just went to Disneyland for 2 days, you know, which that's like unimaginable for me. So that's pretty cool. That's possible in the future. And now she's working full time, which is incredible and really cool. So that's really good. Yeah. So, you know, thank you all for your support and your prayers and your generosity and everything, because there's no way like that I could be here without that. Like at all, or even like do the treatments or continue to do the treatments or get the supplements that I need to be able to just knock all these bad things out. And also it's just so incredible that like I can get better, because when I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, that's like one of those things where people don't really know what it is or what causes it or how to fix it. So it's just kind of like a lifetime of managing symptoms and lifestyle changes that don't like fix it, but just try to keep it from like getting worse. So even though it's like really intensive here and just like a lot, the fact that I can get better and kind of live like a normal life eventually, and like, you know, not in like huge stretches of time, but you know, a little while, is super, super encouraging and just really cool, because I did not think that was going to be the case. So yeah.